Hi everyone, welcome to Maximum Attack Rallying. Something different today. I'm not talking about rallying because I'm doing something that I've never done before, and it's quite exciting. I am, for the first time in my life, driving a Porsche. And it's cool. So why am I driving a Porsche? Well, as you may have realised, if you follow me on social media, I'm in the UK for a few days, and rather than renting a car, because I'm only here on a short trip, my friend Dan said, well, why don't you borrow my Boxster just to get around a little bit? So I did. So here I am, fulfilling a little bit of a bucket list, because I am a bit of a secret Porsche fanboy. So it's nice to finally have the chance to drive one. I've been lucky enough to drive some quite nice cars over the years, a few rally cars, owned quite a few hot hatches and things. I even drove a Ferrari once. But today I get to drive a Porsche for the first time, and it is a 987 Boxster 2.7. So before we talk too much about the driving, let's pull over so you can have a look at the car, and I will tell you some very consumer-friendly facts about it from a practical perspective, and then we'll talk about some silly things. I've found a random place in the middle of the countryside to pull over. We'll have a little look round. You've probably seen a Boxster before, but I'm going to show you it anyway. So let's turn the camera around and have a little looky at some of the bits of the Boxster. So the first thing with this car is that it is actually modified a bit. It sits 20 millimeters lower. You'll have to excuse that it's a bit dirty. I've been driving it, not cleaning it. It's also spaced a little bit, so it's a little bit more stancy than standard. Otherwise though, from the outside, pretty well as it left the factory in Stuttgart. I think the vent on the side there, this intake vent, is black. I think that would be silver as standard, but otherwise it's a silver Boxster. It's quite a smart looking thing, isn't it? I really like it. I think it's subtle. It feels quite wide on the road, but not a big car. One thing that did catch me out, look at the front overhang, is quite long. So you can see the top of the wing here when you're sitting in the car, but there's a lot of car in front of that, and that caught me out a little bit at one point. But otherwise, filler neck on the front, of course, engine in the middle, so fuel tank at the front. I don't know if you heard that, there's a steam train or whistle in the distance. But otherwise, standard Boxster stuff. Of course, the engine is under here with the Boxster, not out of the back as it is in a 911. So you've got a flatter rear deck than you'd get with a convertible 911, for example. Centre exit exhaust still, which I actually really like, and I prefer that to most 911s, which have an exit on each side, unless you have a GT3. I think the centre exit looks really rather good. So yes, that's the outside. Inside you can see another little modification to this particular car is that it's got a suede trim steering wheel. Otherwise, standard leather seats. It's in very good condition inside this car. Actually, it's in good shape inside. Another tweak to this one is it's got a screen, so it's got Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, all that sort of thing. But yeah, it's a nice little cabin, quite compact. Obviously feels very airy once you get the hood down, which is electric. One last thing I just want to show you before we get moving again is the practicality. This is a surprisingly practical car. So if you look down here on the sill, you've got two buttons, and I'll show you what they reveal. So at the front of the car we have a frunk, which I've never opened before and not put anything inside. So you can see that is very deep. I don't know if it shows on camera, but it is the length of my forearm. So you've got a lot of space in there. Obviously you've got the battery here. So yeah, there's quite a lot of space, a warning triangle in there. So lots and lots of room in there, really, if you wanted to go on a little trip. And if we go to the back of the car, look in here, there is some stuff in here, because I'm travelling tomorrow, so you'll have to excuse it. But it's an illustration of how practical this car is. So you can see there's a couple of packs of water in there, a Tesco bag, some Watsits, and a jacket. And that shows this is quite a practical little car. There is quite a lot of space with the the trunk and the frunk, if you like. Down here, you've got an access hatch to check your fluid levels. It's obviously to make that easier because the engine is so hidden. So this is a practical car, but that's not why we're here. We are here to drive the car, not to talk about the boot. So let's drive the car some more. So practical stuff over, let's get on with the driving. First and foremost, I should probably apologise for the camera. I've got no idea how it's working. I didn't really expect to do this. It was done a bit on the fly, so I didn't have any proper equipment to mount the camera. So my DJI Pocket 3 is flapping about on a bodged phone holder, so it might be like this. I've got face tracking on in the vain hope that it helps, but I apologise in advance for that. But I thought I would share this experience with you, just as I try not to crash on a roundabout. Just because it's cool, isn't it? I drive a Peugeot every day, so getting to drive a manual Boxster is a nice experience that I am going to savour. So, as you saw, it is a Boxster. As I said earlier on, it is the 2.7 litre model. I can't remember how long Dan has owned this car for. It's a few years now. What can I say? It's really lovely. It's a really lovely car to drive. Obviously, the engine is kind of, I'm not going to say the centrepiece, but it is pretty dominating. I think if you're used to four-cylinder cars, and particularly hatchbacks nowadays, where, you know, obviously you don't have lots of big engine cars as the sun inconveniently comes through the side window, driving a car with a six-cylinder engine or larger feels like a bit of an event these days. And this one, 2.7, it's not the fastest Boxster in the 987 range. That was the S, which I think was a 3.4 litre, I want to say. And to be honest, I can totally see why Dan did not buy that. The engine in the S model does have some problems with bore scoring, which is ruinously expensive to repair. So yeah, I think you'd be a brave person to buy one of those, unless you've got lots of money tucked away. That said, the 2.7 engine, it is actually very nice to use, very smooth, makes lots of nice flat six noises, especially this one, which has got a slightly modified intake. He says, try not to crash on yet another roundabout. I'm doing this in rush hour, which is not helpful, and people are driving slightly madly. So it's about 240-ish horsepower. And while it's not gonna trouble the latest 4-litre Boxsters and Caymans, it's actually more than enough to get you in trouble. And I think it's that nice point. I always say that a car that around 200 horsepower in a road car is enough these days. It's fast enough to get you going, but not so fast that you can't actually enjoy it and rev it out a little bit. So I actually think it's a really nice balance. It's in that kind of sweet spot, similar in a way to Golf GTIs and Fiesta STs, you know, so it's not super fast. 0 to 60 is a shade under 6 seconds, I think, but it's fast enough. It's fast enough that you can enjoy it on the road. I think the problem with a lot of new performance cars is that they are 300, 400, 500 horsepower, and you can have half a second at full throttle before you're breaking the speed limit, and it just ends up feeling a little bit pointless. So I rather like it from that perspective. It's got enough to be fun. I said that the engine isn't the centrepiece, and that is true, because really with any Porsche, the centrepiece is the chassis, isn't it? And as you would expect, as all the cliches will tell you, this car is very, very sweet in that respect. I think that the thing that surprised me the most about this particular car, considering it's lowered and has got spacers and it's got a more of a track-focused alignment, is that it's actually still really usable. It is stiff, you know, the ride is stiff, but unlike a lot of cars that once they've been lowered, it doesn't dart around, it doesn't tramline, it doesn't have any of the kind of the horrible vices that lowered cars tend to suffer from. It's just got quite a stiff ride, which for me is totally fine. You know, I come from a school of fast Renaults, which all tend to have quite a stiff ride, and this is perfectly usable. So I really like the fact that it doesn't have those drawbacks that a lot of lowered cars would have. I think if you were going to drive it every day, I would probably have it at standard ride height, but other than that, yeah, it's really nice. And it's just all the usual Porsche stuff, isn't it? So the gear shift is really lovely, you know, it's nice and clicky and clunky and very precise and just feels really nice to use. So that makes a huge difference to the experience. The steering wheel, journalists these days, they waffle on a lot, don't they, about steering wheels and how modern cars have big chunky steering wheels that are horrible to use. This doesn't have that, and I kind of see what they're getting at, because the steering wheel is very delicate. This one covered in suede as well, which makes it even nicer to use. So it's just a really lovely car to operate. There's a weight to the controls that feels very well balanced. This is another Porsche cliche, isn't it? I'm really sorry I'm using all of the journalistic cliches for Porsches, but it's all very well judged. It all operates very nicely together. And I mean, if you compare this to my Peugeot that I drive daily, it feels heavy, the clutch is heavy, the steering feels really heavy, but you feel like you're actually putting in a bit of work, which I like. You know, you are operating the car, and in a sports car like this, I think that's kind of what you want, isn't it? You want to feel like you're doing a bit of work, so I rather like it from that perspective. Other things to say, I think the key thing that I want to perhaps use to bring this video into land, coming up to a traffic light as well, which is convenient, so things will get a bit quieter. Dan asked me yesterday while we were chatting, could I drive this car every day? And I think that's a really interesting question, isn't it? Could I drive it every day? I would drive a 987 Boxster every day. This one is perhaps a little bit more on the track focus side with the suspension, and that has compromised it a little bit. So if it was a daily car, I probably wouldn't have the lowering springs on it, though it does make it look very good. It gives it a nice stance. But otherwise, as you saw in earlier on, there's a lot of boot space, so you could use it to go on holiday if it was just the two of you, or a weekend away at the very least. And you can use it to do the shopping. If you've got children, it's going to be problematic, I admit that. But if you've got a second car, then you know that doesn't make a huge difference, does it? So I think it's very usable. I think that is probably the secret to Porsche, isn't it? You know, that they are very, very usable cars. So from that perspective, I think I could quite happily drive this car on a daily basis. I would have no problem with that whatsoever. And having driven around in it for the last couple of days, it's been really, really enjoyable, and I've really, really liked it. So the thing I want to ask otherwise, and this is trying to bring this back to something a little bit more motorsporty perhaps, is could you compete in it? Particularly, could you rally it? And I mean, really, you probably wouldn't want to rally a Boxster, would you? Because it doesn't have a roof. It's lovely with the roof down, I will say. I have driven it with the roof down. I'm not doing that right now because you wouldn't be able to hear me talk, I suspect, though the wind effect isn't too bad at all. But I think if I was going to compete in it, or I was making a dedicated track car, I would probably go down the route of the Cayman. I would perhaps stick with a 2.7 engine. Yes, obviously it would be nice to have the extra poke, but I would be terrified of the bore scoring issue. Would it make a good rally car for tarmac, for circuit type events? I think you'd have a lot of fun in it. You know, as I said, the chassis is all of the Porsche cliches. It would be a little bit underpowered. I think in reality, this car would obviously be up against big Escorts and the like in class terms, so you'd want to get a bit more power. I think there was a Cayman doing the Circuit Rally Championship, wasn't there? I don't know what had been done to that mechanically, but yeah, I think, would it rally? Yes. Would it be competitive? No. Would you have fun? Definitely. I definitely think you would. And that's that. That is my amateurish Porsche Boxster review. I don't do car reviews on this channel generally. Maybe I won't ever do one again because this video might tank, who knows? Maybe you don't care about Porsches, but I very much enjoyed driving it, and I think as an attainable weekend toy or even daily driver, it's a very compelling car. These are available for less than £10,000 quite easily now, and I think this one was less than £10,000 a few years ago, in fact. So, you know, it's a very usable, enjoyable car. So I'm not sorry for driving it. I'm not sorry for making a video about it. but I will get back to some rallying content, I promise, because that is why you're all here. But otherwise, I hope you enjoyed it. Do make sure you like and subscribe, do all of that stuff, follow me over on socials, and I will see you again in the next video.